afternoon, everyone. I'm Christina Hupy, Vice President of HazardHub here at Guidewire. Welcome to the first of 2 sessions on HazardHub here at Connections. We are thrilled to have you all here. Today we're going to talk about how to underwrite personal and commercial property with confidence. We want this session to be interactive and relevant to you, so if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the app. And then we'll open it up for Q&A at the end of our planned content. All right, let's get started. We have some great speakers here today. You'll get to hear from Joey Kenny, Chief Underwriting Officer at Innovative Holdings, a HazardHub customer. You'll also hear from Jose Loera from Confianza, and Rachel Revelinsky, our HazardHub Product Manager, will walk us through the roadmap and what exciting things are coming. We have our quick reminder on the safe harbor statement on any forward-looking statements in this presentation may be subject to change. Let's take a look at the agenda, what we're going to cover today. So I want to set the stage about how HazardHub brings value to our customers by giving a market overview. And then we'll hear from 2 of our customers on how they are driving efficiencies for their customers using HazardHub. And then we'll talk a little bit about the roadmap and open it up for Q&A. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. I think everyone in this room is probably familiar that property lines have been suffering underwriting losses. If we look at the last 5 of 7 years, we've had significant challenges facing, and in a couple of years, we barely broke even. What are the causes of some of these industry headwinds? Well, there's an increase in the severity and frequency of CAT events. We can think of this fall with Helene and Milton. I think probably everyone in this room maybe knows someone or was impacted by that personally. It's also having a big impact on our losses. We have 47 million acres burned by wildfire during the same time period, as well as many severe flooding events. On top of the natural catastrophic headwinds that are facing our industry, we also see a lot of systemic challenges. So economic inflation, right? The replacement cost for home and auto is increasing. Social inflation. We see higher litigation and higher jury awards, as well as some adverse regulatory rulings which have increased our loss costs. This data shows the increase in the extreme natural CAT events over the last couple decades. We can see that the number of 1 billion or more events are becoming increasingly common. This is obviously having a huge impact on our industry. We know that in addition to the increased frequency and severity of these events, people are moving around. They're moving to coastal areas, and they're more likely to be impacted by these type of events. On top of the natural side of things, the macroeconomic factors are also making it more difficult for insurers. So we know that during COVID, costs skyrocketed for replacement costs, and they really haven't truly come back down. So if we look at the data from 2023, we can see 10 to 20% increase in reinsurance costs. We can see a 17% increase in claims payout between 2021 and 2022, and then more recently, 30% increase in reconstruction costs. In addition to all of these factors, our underwriters need to make intelligent decisions in the face of these challenges, and they need a lot of data. I just was having lunch with someone earlier, an insurer that was saying it takes 30 minutes per policy, per submission, for them to look through all of these different data sources to maybe even decline it at the end. If you're trying to pull in data from different places, it may be at different scale, it may be updated at a different frequency, it might be incomplete, it might be consistent, and it's difficult to make an intelligent decision when you're trying to make sense of these different data sources. Despite these challenges, we find that many of our customers are finding success. So there are a top 20% in the market that are able to find a return on equity. And the way that they're doing that is, the way that they're able to outperform the market is with exceptional underwriting discipline and better data. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about next. We've learned some great lessons from our customers on how they're using HazardHub data to outperform the competition. First, it starts with avoiding proximity to some of these severe natural cat zones. We find that our customers are managing accumulations of risk in high hazard areas. They're also declining risk based on their risk tolerance. So depending on what your book looks like, depending on where you're writing, if you have the data at your hand when you're getting those submissions, you're able to make smarter decisions based on your tolerance. Using accurate replacement costs to adjust for inflation is also very helpful. And then finding those high quality properties inside of those high risk zones allows you to prosper in these tough times. And that's where we bring HazardHub into the equation. So we'd like to talk a little bit about HazardHub. We have the most comprehensive property and risk data set ever created. We have over 1,000 different data elements and 39 perils and scores. One thing that's really unique about HazardHub is that it's highly fine-grained spatial data. And we're going to get into some visual examples of that in just a minute and why that's important for making intelligent underwriting decisions. Another thing that's unique about HazardHub is that our data are updated frequently. So you are getting the most up-to-date information at your fingertips through the underwriting process. It's also integrated into your underwriting system. So you're seeing here a screenshot of Guidewire's PolicyCenter. When a submission hits PolicyCenter, it's automatically enriched with all of the data that you're seeing here. And that makes it so much easier and faster to make intelligent underwriting decisions. If you're using a different system, that's okay. It's an API that is synchronous and can be integrated into any technology. And you're going to actually see some examples of that from our customers up on stage here. All right, let's take a little bit of a deep dive. So why does data granularity matter? Here you're looking at our wildfire score in the state of Nevada. You'll see that we are zoomed out at the county level where we have one score for the county, and then we go to the zip code and the census block level. And the colors on the map are showing you from green, obviously, is a low risk, all the way to red as a high risk. And the variability is changing at these different scales. Historically, the industry has looked at census block or maybe zip code. But if you want to make smart and intelligent underwriting decisions, you need to look at the risks that are actually at the individual property, not at the census block level. And that's what HazardHub brings. So this is an area of the Martin Fire in Nevada. So we're kind of zooming in to the actual parcel level. And this shows you that there is variability even at a neighborhood level. And so there's parcels that are green and parcels that are red. And if your underwriters have this information at their fingertips when they're writing, they're going to be able to make more intelligent decisions. Another thing that we want to point out that's unique about HazardHub is our update frequency. So this is a map of land cover change in this same county, in Elko County, Nevada, the same county that we've just looked at with the Martin Fire. And the red areas show you what land cover has changed from 2001 to 2021. So HazardHub updates our data sets whenever they become available from government and other sources, and we even collect our own data, so you're getting updates every month. And this shows you, particularly in wildfire, how land cover changes significantly on the earth over time. And you want to have that most up-to-date information when you're making those decisions. All right, let's go ahead and take a little bit of a closer look about how it's integrated into PolicyCenter. So here we have PolicyCenter, and then we have our Analytics Manager tool. As soon as that address hits the submission, we see all of the different scores. And if you notice, there's that red box at the top as well. We've put custom underwriting rules inside of Analytics Manager that allows you to set your risk appetite. So when that policy hits, you can flag it that maybe it needs more investigation, or maybe you've already hit your hail risk for this particular state or this particular zone. And that's right inside of the system. It makes it that much easier and faster for your underwriters to make make smart and intelligent decisions. All right, now let's see it in action. So I am very pleased to introduce Joey Kennedy, and he is going to walk us through how Innovative Holdings uses HazardHub.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina, and thanks to Guidewire for giving us the opportunity to kind of tell our story. Innovative Holdings is a Missouri-based holding company. Our mission is to help mid-size insurers sustain their identity. We offer different services such as pricing, underwriting, accounting, and claim services to smaller insurers. You can see some of the companies that are under our umbrella here, including Turi, which is a white-labeled policyholder app that's available to Insurance Now customers. So when we started our Insurance Now implementation, we had a couple issues that we were looking to solve for. One was protection class. Historically, our underwriting team would have to look that up in manuals or trust the agents to give us an accurate protection class. Also, replacement cost. Replacement cost was historically outside of our policy admin system, so it wasn't automatically populated. And then again, we had inaccurate data. Obviously, with agents inputting all of that information for us, that the trust and the confidence in the data we needed to improve. So that ultimately led us to HazardHub. HazardHub has a breadth of data, protection class, replacement costs, and then including property characteristics like square feet of the home, roof type, construction type, all things that historically we weren't capturing accuracy of. And then HazardHub is also embedded with Guidewire. So as we're improving our technology, we wanted to embed different solutions so that our agents could get a little faster quote and a better experience. So this is why we chose HazardHub. So today I'm going to show a little quick live demo of how we have HazardHub integrated into our system. So what you're seeing here is our quote screen. I'm going to go into one of our quotes here, and hopefully it's not going to log me out. It didn't. So you can see here's where we can input an address. So as we input the address, we can verify that address, and some of this data is going to automatically populate into our screen. So if I go over to the next page, we're on some good Wi-Fi here. So now we're at our dwelling tab of our Insurance Now platform, and you can see a lot of the information that we gather from our agent is automatically populated into these fields. So year built, construction type, roof type. This has immensely improved the quoting experience for our agency force. It allows them to do things a lot faster, and that's improved our business. The other side of this, we go into our coverages tab, and the replacement cost is automatically available for the agent to see, so they can input that there. And then we've built rules, as you can see, minimum deductible rules that will automatically apply as they see that replacement cost there. Lastly, as Christina was mentioning, all of that breadth of information, so the peril scores are something that we've begun to use as our underwriting team to help them underwrite more effectively. So HazardHub gives us the ability to look at all these, and we've integrated these into the Insurance Now platform, where our underwriting team can immediately see some of those hail scores that she was mentioning, the protection class and all of those things, so that we can make that decision a lot faster, and it's a better decision. So our underwriters are making more informed decisions using this HazardHub data. So that's how we're using HazardHub. I'm going to pass it off to Christina.
Yep, great, thank you. All right, thank you, Joey, for sharing how Innovative Holdings is using HazardHub. Next, we're going to hear from Jose Loera, and he is going to share his Confianza example.
Excellent, thank you. Christina, appreciate the introduction. Guidewire, appreciate the opportunity, and looking forward to sharing how we're using the HazardHub property details within our solution and our offering, as well as talk about, most importantly, why we selected HazardHub in the first place. But first, a little bit about Confianza. Formerly a consulting company, today offering our best-in-class data and analytics in more of a traditional subscription type of a transactional basis. Note, of course, we have not forgotten about our consulting roots, so certainly we'll come alongside you, make sure we're clear on the use case priorities so that we can put together the proper routing, decisioning data flows as well. Our founders, certainly a couple industry veterans, starting with our CEO, Jeffrey Glazer, former CEO of LexisNexis. as well as our Chief Data Officer, John Petrucelli, who is with us, better known as JP. He does go by Dr. Data as well, so it's kind of nice to have our own doctor on staff for sure. Our mission, very straightforward, right? All about driving targeted growth with risk selection, improved loss and expense ratios. How we do that is with our actionable data, AI, machine learning, predictive loss analytics. Who we serve, we really do play across the distribution channel, from carriers, tier ones, on through startups, brokers. We've got 3 of the 4 largest, and of course, MJs and agencies as well. Coverage is pretty extensive as well across both commercial and personal lines. Our product, we're offering a comprehensive risk and exposure profile. More specifically, we're actually empowering our clients with a complete 360 view of the business, of the consumer, of the risk and exposure. I will give you an example of that here in a second as well. Let's talk about the problem. We were asked by our clients, and again, based on our former consulting type of business, we get this type of an approach all the time about, is there a way for us to put together a best-in-class proprietary property replacement cost estimator? Let's call that our RCE tool. And certainly without our RCE tool, our profile really was incomplete. What we needed was that fundamental base property detail, like square footage, like year built, construction type, and so forth, and that would ultimately feed our model there. I have listed on the screen as well on the bottom there our 5 components of our profile. I'll go over that. I'm going to give you an example, actually. The intent of our profile is to instantly give you an indication of an incoming submission, incoming quote. The question is that in line with your targeted risk selection, or is there propensity for loss frequency and severity? That's simple and certainly that powerful. The way we start with our profile is first we want to understand and define what your best customers look like. You can see in the middle here, there are the characteristics, again, either personal or commercial. This is a commercial example. Years in business, annual sales, employees, and so forth. Then we start to build out the 5 components. First would be business classification. Generally, it's firmographic information, everything about the business, including NAICS, sales, employees, business credit, and so forth. Then we dig into the principal. We do leverage our non-FCRA data, really giving us insights like a credit proxy, kind of a FICO-like indication. We also have credit card details of the owner so that if they say they just hang sheetrock, let's have a look at the actual purchase history. If they buy hazardous chemicals, obviously different risks, different exposure, different operations there. The third piece, I'm going to take a second on this one, is the top right. That's the all the property characteristics, and this is where we leverage the HazardHub property details specifically for that replacement cost estimator. In general, we did see a gap in the marketplace and our opportunity to deliver an RC that was much more transparent, to empower our clients with the ability to configure inflation, commodity building materials like lumber, steel, labor. Also, what we do is we've got a recalculator capability in there, meaning if you disagree with the square footage, if you disagree with the building quality and condition, you can actually make the edits within our environment on the fly, and you're good to go on that. Last 2 pieces on that, we do have our own geocoding. It is based at center roof versus mailbox, which typically is at the road. We also do a USPS CAS address standardization, adding additional fidelity. And finally, of course, because of JP's prior experience on Wall Street, we do track commodities. Gives you the power to really kind of forecast what are things looking like, 1 quarter, 2 quarters out, and do we want to actually visit some of those factors to make edits. To round out our profile, we have the last 2 components on the bottom right there. First is the lesser's risk occupancy. Same story, right? Approached by our clients looking to have us build a best-in-class type of a solution. Most of the carriers that we have conversations with, right, they get an address and they insure the building. No real insights inside of what's in there. So what we'll do is at a 90% plus fill rate, we'll identify 100% of the tenants. That's number 1. Are they commercial? Are they residential? For the commercial side, we'll give you the breakdown of their operations, NAICS, sales, employees, and so forth. On the residential piece, we'll give you that indication. What we're finding is there's a number of home-based artisans, as well as even home-based professionals. They may fall under a residential category. We can identify those as well, and also give you some insights based on that non-FCRA. Is there financial stress? Is there some type of an indication for potential loss as well? And finally, to wrap up on that profile, we do have permit activity as well. Very, very accurate, detailed information, everything that you would expect, right? Dates of the permit, the application process, the inspection process is there as well, contractor information, the dollar amounts, and of course, anything significant that was updated, roof, AC, a sprinkler, and so forth. All right, so next one, a couple things here. Let's talk about why we selected HazardHub, and then I'm going to give you a demo as well. In general, I would say HazardHub has allowed us to really develop this proprietary best-in-class property replacement cost estimator based on their strong fundamental data. That's the key consideration. I'm going to talk about a couple more specific pieces here, because what we did is we weren't sure. There was a number of property vendors out there in the marketplace, without mentioning names. Of course, we took them and competed against two other large providers out there. And based on thousands of records, here you can see the results here. Ultimately, we chose HazardHub because, number one, the highest match rates. Two, highest fill rates, but it's based on very specific attributes that we really needed to support our property replacement cost estimator. You can see some of the actual parameters in there. One that I want to highlight was the property use code. This is extremely important. Obviously on residential, it's very straightforward, single family home, whatever that may be. On the commercial side, HazardHub gives us hundreds of property use codes. This really drives the levels of accuracy on our commercial property replacement cost estimator. Others that also align with what Joey was talking about here: fire protection, the comprehensive weather perils, extensive natural risk, and of course, right, the strong name brand. That was really important for us. The last note, as you can see on the bottom there, we've been happy customers with HazardHub since 2014, so definitely one of the early adopters there as well. All right, so give me a second here. I believe I've timed out, so if we can switch over. So this is our self-service reports portal, developers portal, everything is in here, all the API documentation. I'm going to go ahead and create a package here. I'm going to go to our RCV, property replacement cost valuation, drop in an address. That could be residential, commercial, whatever that may be. It's going to take a second. It is going to come back in JSON, as most of our clients do consume this via API, but you'll get the idea here. Let me expand this here and show you some of the specific data attributes that come back. There we go. There is calculation date, the actual replacement cost valuation itself, contents, estimates, square footage. Again, as mentioned, right, there's the property use code that's extremely important to us as well. A couple other pieces of additional information that you get there are baths and so forth, and garage information. My time is up. Appreciate the opportunity. Let us know if we can address any questions. Again, JP and I will be available to address anything that you may have. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jose. That was great. All right, next, I'm going to introduce Rachel Revelinsky. She is our product manager for HazardHub, and she's going to take you through our roadmap and what's coming next.
Thank you, Christina. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Revelinsky, the product manager for HazardHub. So what we have for you here is our roadmap for HazardHub over the next 2 years. In the first section here, we have items that were recently released or that we will be releasing in the very near future. First off, we have our geocoder. We recently just upgraded our geocoder to identify building-specific risks. So our geocoder will be pinpointed at a rooftop level versus just at a parcel level. We are also in the process of releasing an updated fire and flood score for the United States, and we are launching a flood score for Canada. Again, both of these will offer, with our geocoder, risks assessed at a rooftop level, not just at a parcel level. And we also just recently launched our partnership with Milliman Actuary Consulting Services. This is a partnership to get our wildfire score and our fire suppression score filed with regulatory approval. This pre-approval process will enable actuaries to use two scores easily for rating. Now, you might ask yourself, how will this help our customers? Currently, insurers that want to use HazardHub scores for rating, they have to file their models on their own and wait upwards of a year to do this for DOI approval. So with this regulatory approval, once our models get approved, insurers will be able to use our scores and ratings within weeks of approval. And if you did want to hear more about this, you can check out our HazardHub for Pricing session at 3:45 just down the hall. They'll go into that in more detail. If we look farther out over the next 6 to 12 months, we will be relaunching our casualty product, which allows customers with commercial lines of business to underwrite and price more efficiently in an API via the HazardHub portal, also available via PolicyCenter or, of course, direct integration into your core systems. We will also be releasing a new crime score, which the score will now be based on population-based and will also be utilizing 911 calls for data that is more real-time and up-to-date. And we've also received feedback from our customers, so we're going to be launching a new customer portal. So this portal will give more of a visualization, and it also will help smaller carriers that don't have necessarily the tech. It will be much more user-friendly than our current portal is. And if we look farther out at 12 to 24 months, we will be releasing a water non-weather model. So it says it right in the title, but think of it as not related to a flood. It's internal sources. Currently in the United States, 1 in 5 houses have a claim that is related to an internal water damage, and it results in $13 billion in the current insurance industry. So it's a big peril, and that's why we want to get it added for you. We also will be launching a weather history report, which is a report that we think will help with determining if claims are legitimate or fraudulent. So we will be using historical storm data in addition to the HazardHub. So you'll be able to see if actually there was a hail claim and it's legitimate. And then we'll also give you the HazardHub data so you can determine if you want to keep writing or if you want to change the policy. And lastly, we will be launching a HazardHub Global API. So recently we just launched a HazardHub for Global product, which we're going to be integrating this into PolicyCenter, or you can have it in direct integration into your core systems. So as I mentioned, we just recently launched our HazardHub for global markets. We launched this new partnership with 4 perils, along with 65 new data elements across 19 countries in Europe, Africa, and in Asia. For our initial launch, we are offering localization, so it will be available in English, but also 6 other languages, including German, French, Spanish, Italian, Polish, and Portuguese. All right, and that one is the end of the roadmap. So now we're going to go into our Q&A session. I'm actually going to kick this one off for Joey. So Joey, you mentioned that you use HazardHub for pre-fill. How much of an impact do you think using HazardHub has had on your operational efficiency and overall profitability?
Yeah, I think we've probably been able to cut the quote time in about half for our agents, especially with that replacement cost being integrated into the system. So we were able to eliminate the process of having to go outside of our policy admin system to get a replacement cost report. So having that integrated has improved that. And then the accuracy and the getting the insured value, so we're not underinsured, and that's helped improve our loss ratios.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Excellent. We'd love to open it up to questions from the audience. We would appreciate it if you would stand up, and then one of our assistants will come over with the mic so that we can make sure that we hear your question. Any questions from the audience?
Don't all stand up at once. There we go. Right over here.
It's the doctor. Shirley. Just a quick question on crime. We are an analytics company. We know how difficult it is to acquire crime and to forecast it. What level do you forecast crime? Is it at the address level? Is it at the zip 9 level? Or is it at the zip code level?
It will be at the address level. So I mentioned that we're going to be using 911 data. The 911 data actually provides the exact location of where the crimes occurred. So then when you partner that with our geocoder, you'll get, how close is that to the actual property. So I'd say it's pretty precise because we get lats and longs on where the crime occurred.
Jose, we'd love to hear from you. What about the efficiency that you feel that your tool is bringing, particularly with the HazardHub data, to your customers?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate the opportunity. I'll give you a specific example. One of our customers was recently published. They actually won the Impact Award as the Data Insights analysis, and it was based on the HazardHub data that filled our property replacement cost estimator. So our client, who is a fast-growing small commercial MGA, they quoted over 30% savings. And really the big question was, can we help to identify and to really solve the undervaluation of commercial property? So that's really where we've been able to do, is really give them much more insight and control of cost, accuracy, and certainly empower them on if they've got some unique portfolios, if they got unique, could be coastal, could be some specific region, we can make those adjustments within the factors there, so it becomes a little bit more of a customized type of an offering.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the audience?
I think we have a question over there.
So we support a lot of rural commercial businesses. And so I was wondering about your data sources. Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't know, but we do struggle with some accuracy of when we try to integrate and pull that in, getting it down to really building level construction stories, stuff like that. We do struggle. So
Are you talking about with existing HazardHub data?
no, we don't have HazardHub.
Oh, okay.
So just wondering how you solve for that with your other customers.
Yeah, sure. So one thing that's important to note is that our data is continuous for the entire US. So if we have that data in the database, it is national coverage. If you're talking about something like fire hydrants or what we would call a point feature, obviously if it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. So all of the elements that are in our API are continuous. And one of the things that's really unique about HazardHub is, and we actually have a patent for this, is that we're live scoring. And that's really unique, especially with some of the other data providers out there. So when you put in the address, it pings through all of those layers of spatial data and actually calculates the metrics on the fly within 3 seconds. So every time we're adding data, you're getting that latest information at that point in time. Now, in terms of some of the challenges that you may have with really large rural areas where the parcels are really large, that can be a problem because a lot of geocoders or other data providers are aggregating it at that parcel level. And if the parcel is huge, the building may be somewhere within inside of that. And so you're losing that accuracy. So that's one reason we're really happy that we upgraded our geocoders so they'll get better building matching. And then also, if you remember that the images I shared of kind of county level, zip code, and then census block, we're actually at the individual property level. So you should have really great results inside of HazardHub. Yeah, I'm happy to ask some follow-up questions after if there's more for that one. Anyone else have a question?
So as you use HazardHub as a data source at an individual level for underwriting risk, how do you leverage that in a portfolio level when you use CAT models which are not based on the data, right? So how do you balance the portfolio view with the transactional view?
We use spatial analysis. We use a tool called Domo where we analyze that at a portfolio level. And then so we give our underwriters kind of goals of, okay, this is where we want to grow and not want to grow. We've actually just dipped our toe with the peril scoring. So really excited to start involve that in some of our CAT models and pricing models, but we haven't really gotten into that at this point.
Right, and I think we had a question in the back as well.
Hi, could you expand on what the casualty risk insight will entail?
Sure, absolutely, yes. So for the commercial side, there's a whole suite of variables that are a little bit different. It gets more into the NAICS code and then some of the workers' comp data and more details that are specific to the individual properties. And Rachel, I think you probably have a good list.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's more related to, obviously it's related to commercial properties. So as she indicated, OSHA violations, like the number of employees that they have. So things that are very specific to businesses versus if it's a residential property.
I was just wondering if either of you could speak to some of the opportunities or challenges utilizing a different data set than maybe some of your competitors. Like, has it opened up opportunities for you to write in specific areas, or has it become a challenge because maybe you're losing business because of a different data set?
Yeah, I can speak to some of that. I think, as we've integrated some of this data, it's definitely given a competitive advantage in some scenarios, but obviously as we update and get better accuracy, our pricing models may rate something a little differently. So we're trusting the data source for us to give us that competitive advantage. So yeah, but I definitely can see the challenges there.
Great question. I think we had one more. Yes?
Yeah, real quick. With regard to residential replacement cost, is that based on public data? Is that where you're pulling that from? And have you had any complaints when you use that in regard to the accuracy of that replacement cost?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the data for replacement cost is based primarily on actual public records. So you're getting the most recent pieces of that from what's in the public record. And then there is some machine learning that adds on top of that. One of the really unique things about the data source that we have is that it's very accurate, not only from low cost houses all the way up to millions of dollar homes. Some of the other data sources out there start to underperform as the cost of the house increases, and our data set performs particularly well across different values of homes.
Thank you for the presentation. A follow-up question. You talked before about the weather data that you're bringing in, but if we start to think about future climate scenarios that will impact the long-term relationships that the underwriters will have as they think about risk, are you bringing any of the long-term climate change forecasts into the system?
Currently, we don't have weather forecasting in our system, but it is something that we're looking into. I don't know if anybody else had anything else to add.
Yeah, we're not using any forecasting in ours either.
Yeah, no, but I will say one of the unique things, as I mentioned in the presentation about HazardHub, is that because we're always downloading the most recent government data, particularly as it relates to weather, you're getting that in the API. So, a lot of other systems, or historically, I think in underwriting, you'll get, one value for, say, 5 years or the last 10 years. We're updating that as soon as it becomes available from public sources. So, and you'll see that in our release notes, all of the different data sets that were updated. So while really the intention of our system isn't to be predictive in that sense, forward looking, you're getting the most recent information, which obviously with climate variability and some of these extreme events, you can trust that you're getting the most recent experience at that location, which can really vary spatially quite finely, particularly in relation to hail or some of the other kind of events that are spatially variable, even say within a zip code.
Thanks. Just curious if you could talk more about the water, not weather feature coming down the road. I mean, I think from a carrier perspective, that's extremely exciting, but I'm just curious how you're thinking about tackling that from a data perspective.
So we're going to be gathering data. Specifically, we'll be using claims data, but then we'll also be using data about the property itself. So number of bathrooms, number of faucets, things along that line, and integrating those into our predictive model.
Yeah, so that is also one of the unique things about what we do is because we're part of Guidewire and some of our customers do provide the rights for us to use the claims to train our model. So you're getting information that's based on the real experience of the broader Guidewire community in the way that we develop our models. Good question as well.
I noticed that you have casualty data coming up in the next 6 to 12 months. Could you tell us more how it could be relevant for your existing use cases?
For existing use cases?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so casualty will be focused more, as Rachel said, on the commercial side of the house. Now, just to be clear, right now, a lot of our scores and elements are useful in the commercial market. So if you're writing commercial business, I know for Confianza, for example, the fire protection class, distance to hydrants, flood is another one that we hear as well. So the casualty API will be delivered the same way as an asynchronous call. And it can be integrated into your PolicyCenter system or whatever systems that you're using. So if you're writing commercial property, having all of that additional relevant information is just you're getting more information at your fingertips, and you can kind of choose how to use that. So if we think about the examples that we've talked about today, replacement cost is important, size of the building, all the way to distance to fire hydrant and vegetation type. If you add in those, the commercial side, so number of permits or workers' comp,
property usage.
Yeah, exactly. So all of that information is just going to help you write commercial property more intelligently. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us.